千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together.
Once upon a time in China, there was a man who suddenly developed a lot of interest in fortune telling. He began studying the I Jing, palm reading, 八字, 紫微斗数, and other divination techniques that originated from ancient Chinese culture. This puzzled his friends because prior to that time, he had never been interested in these subjects before. So why now? Curious, one of his friends went to him to ask him, hey, I see what you're doing. Why the sudden interest? I've never seen you like this, studying all these techniques. You're so intense. What's going on? The man said, well, you see, a few weeks ago, I saw a famous fortune teller. He looked into my future. He did a reading for me. And then he told me that I would not live past the age of 47. So his friend was shocked. And then he said, oh, I see. So I understand now. You believe him, right? And that's why you are studying all these fortune telling techniques. The man said, no, it's the exact opposite. I don't believe him. I can't believe him. And that is why I'm studying all the techniques. I'm studying all the ones that are available because I am going to figure out how this stuff works. My goal is to prove that it's all lies and tricks, and then I will expose him as a fraud. So he spoke with intensity and anger, and then he continued his studies. Weeks passed, and all of his friends noticed he seemed less angry than before. Then when he started, sometimes he actually seemed a little bit uncertain, even fearful. So the same friend went to him again to ask him, like, hey, how's the plan going? The plan to learn fortune telling, how's that coming along? The man said, well, there was a lot to learn. None of it was easy, but I finally figured out most of it. His friend said, so what's the trouble? Your next step is to expose the fortune teller as a fraud, right? No. The man shook his head. He said, I used the techniques I learned on myself. See, I did several readings on my own future. And I also saw in my future that I would not live past the age of 47. I started out trying to disprove this fortune teller, but all that I have done is to confirm what he told me. So soon after that, the man stopped his study of the divination techniques, and he told all his friends. He said, well, now that I know I don't have a lot of time left, I may as well spend my remaining years doing something meaningful. So I'm going to devote my time to charitable work and not study any more of this. So he became very dedicated to his cause. And the charitable work became a great success. It expanded to a much larger scale, and this kept him busy all the time. All of this was another surprising development to his friends. They all felt that he seemed like a completely different individual. They knew him as a person who could be rather petty at times, had a mean streak, was prone to anger and outbursts. Now, somehow, he was different. He had this aura of compassion that was very natural and unforced. And that same aura also had happiness and peace. Indeed, the more this man worked on the charity, the more compassionate, happier, and peaceful he seemed to be. Years went by. This man made it past the age of 47, and then 48, 49, 50, and so on. So he was so busy that by the time his friend caught up with him again, he was 53 years old. So his friend saw that rather than being anywhere close to dying, he was actually more vigorous and healthier than ever. So noting that he was already 53 and 6 years past the year of his demise, 47, his friend said, well, obviously the fortune teller was wrong. He was wrong about you not living past 47. So you can definitely expose him as a fraud now. The man said, now why would I do that? I'm not going to do that. Why would I? If he hadn't warned me, I would have continued down the path that I was on with all the stress, all the tension, all the anger that I had before. There is no doubt in my mind I was headed for an early grave. He wasn't wrong about that. Thanks to his warning, my life went on a completely different path. I should thank him. The end. So let me talk about this a little bit. I hope everyone can see with this story how the Tao works. Harboring that army of anger in your heart, very bad for you. You advance your own cause and improve your own life, not by having the army camp out, i.e., holding a grudge, like the man did at first. You advance your own cause and improve your own life by transforming that anger or negative feeling into motivational energy to do something more meaningful with your life. Now, this story illustrates a pattern that I have personally seen many times. I have so many examples about that. Let me just relate a couple of these examples to you. These come from real life. These are what I have seen myself. So I know this. I have this good friend who started out visiting with a I Ching master. This I Ching master was extremely accurate, and everyone that knew him would often say that he had a 99.9% accuracy. So my friend used to bring all kinds of questions to him and benefited from him, from his advice in that way. And when my friend brought up this accuracy issue, 99.9%, the I Ching master said, well, you have to understand the 99.9% accuracy is only for the people who don't cultivate the Tao. So my friend was surprised. I mean, he was working on the Tao as well. He said, so what about the people who do cultivate the Tao? What is your accuracy level with them? I Ching master says, it's non-existent, it's horrible. So if someone has reached a level in Tao cultivation, I just don't bother doing readings for them anymore because it's not going to be accurate. It's going to be all over the map. It's going to be very random. I stick with the people who don't cultivate because with them, I'm always right, nearly always. So time passed, and my friend was out of work, and he was anxious to move on to another job. So he was out with his resume, looking for work, going to all different websites, visiting with different recruiting companies, communicating with different recruiters online. And he went back to the I Ching master and said, Master, I am really trying to find another job. Can you tell me when that's going to happen for me? So the I Ching master did some calculations and said, oh, I see. Summer, you will have a new job by summertime. So at the time that he asked, it was spring, so summer was just around the corner, so he was very happy to hear this. But then summer came and went. He still didn't have a job. So he had never known the I Ching master to be off like that before. So he went back to visit with the I Ching master again, and he said, I had no luck at all in summer. So the I Ching master did his calculations again and said, I see, you'll have something by winter time. So it was already autumn, so winter wasn't far away. So my friend went back to the job hunt. He increased his efforts, knowing that something good was just around the corner. Except that he was disappointed again. Next year rolled around, and winter transitioned back into spring. And he went back to the I Ching master to ask for advice, and the I Ching master gave him another prediction, the third one, telling him that a job will be coming up soon. You know, once the new year comes around, he should have one. It's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. And it didn't happen again. By this time, after 3 unsuccessful predictions, my friend had thought, well, perhaps it's a cause for celebration because he sees that he has actually graduated into that class of people who have cultivated the Tao to a certain level, and therefore now become one of the people for whom the I Ching master is unable to make accurate predictions. So with that realization, he decided to no longer go back to the I Ching master and instead relied on his own guidance without getting that advice. Sure enough, when autumn came around again, he ended up with 2 job offers, both ideal from his perspective. He ended up accepting one of the job offers, and later on, told me that it was the ideal job for him. And throughout that entire process, he no longer relied on the I Ching master for guidance. Both job offers looked fantastic. He relied on his own intuition to pick one, and later on, he proved to himself that his choice was correct. So that's just one of the many examples. I also know quite a few other people who had gone to that I Ching master, who had asked for advice, who had success initially, but because they never cultivated the Tao after that, that early success did not break them out of the repeating patterns of their lives. They were still trapped in it, and later on would encounter adversity and don't have the ability, like Tao cultivators, to get themselves out of it. So because of that, I want to share with everybody that I'm constantly being asked about I Ching translation. So my friend who ended up with the job that he considers ideal, he's continuing on to practice the Tao. So he's still doing that today. He's still reaping the benefits from that. And the difference between now and back then is that he is walking around with a new confidence that I can perceive. That he knows he's the master of his own destiny. That rather than to ask a fortune teller for advice, he will simply move on to deciding what his destiny ought to be, and then he will be the author of that particular destiny. So this image here, this is the Chinese practice of palm reading. So you'll see many guidelines here. So for instance, this line right here, 生命线, that supposedly indicates how long you will live. And here's a line for emotions. Here's a line for wisdom, line for success, a line for marriage, and so on. This just goes on and on. So it's all fascinating, but I want to convey the message to everyone that in order to be the true master of your own destiny, you still need to cultivate the Tao. There is no substitute. I think it can be a lot of fun to consult with I Ching. I get that. But I want everyone to graduate to the point where you become a living oracle for yourself. That you know what's coming and you know what needs to be done. That is the ultimate level.
Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us travel safely. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.